As a child, my grandfather was a State Farm claims adjuster, and then my parents owned a local insurance agency. So I grew up working alongside my family, and I was taught good work ethics and to take pride in my work and to give it my all. A lot was because it was, a family business. So what I did and the professionalism that I exuded was a reflection on the business. I wasn't just some worker there. So I've applied that in my life, in everything that I've done. I've worked, I have ADD. I've worked lots of jobs in lots of different industries, and I always treated every business and every job as if it was my own. Um, I've found over the years that there's been, very little employee or employer loyalty. Um, I was having a discussion with somebody last night, and he was talking about how he worked somewhere in Houston for years, and then they came in and they merged with a different company, and they slowly phased all these other people out who had put in years and years of loyal service, and knew the ins and outs of the business, and replaced them with younger people and people who didn't require as much salary. And I see this all the time, and it reminded me of a conversation that I had the other day with somebody in my downline when we did a call, and I found out that she'd lost her job earlier this year, and I did not know that. Um, and she was telling me about how she worked somewhere for close to a decade, and during this time, she was treated horribly, screamed at, yelled at, disrespected, and there were so many times that she had to pick her job over her family, sick children, and boy, that hit home. Um, I've been working since I was 15. I've been putting my skin in um, and giving my all. And I remember my employer that I had when I was pregnant with Rebel, and I worked for him for years. I considered him like my father. I got married on his ranch. He was never mean to me, but he was so volatile and unpredictable. There's things that was thrown throughout the office, and I could hear him screaming, cussing, and I cussed, but it was just we went through so many employees there. I was the only one who withstood this job for years, and that was because I was used to it. I was treated horribly by my dad, and even though I didn't like it, and I would come home and tell Ryan, be like, "Oh my God, he did this today. It was crazy. It was one time I was stuck in my office for over an hour having to pee because him and his wife were screaming like lunatics, and I couldn't get by because they were blocking the door, and it was just so uncomfortable. But it was normal to me." And there was times when my kids were sick, I left them home alone. When their school was out, I left them with their grandmother or their father, or I missed lots of events, and I was rushing in and out. And I did that because I thought that that was what was expected of me, and to keep my job, to be a good parent, to provide for my kids. And in the end, he fired me a week before I uh, was supposed to return back to work from having Rebel. So probably the worst time ever, when I was needing income, and I remember crying about it, being sick to death over it, and being absolutely heartbroken because I thought that he cared about me. And and that's what this coach that I was talking about said, the same thing. And then one day she just got tired of it. She was just like, I don't have to deal with this. And I will say, this is the side effect of being a coach, is once you are part of an organization full of positive, like-minded people, and you see this organization who loves you and commends you and recognizes you for your efforts, and you're doing something that is for the greater good, and that when you're working and you're putting in the hours and you're putting in the sweat and the time and investing your money, your time, or whatever it is that you need to make your business go, and to help your challengers and to help your team, this is for you. You can't fire yourself, and the amount of effort that you put in is greatly significant to what you get out of it. And so I just wanted we were discussing on the call about how we just put up with this because we were so scared and so dependent on our job, and that we just didn't like it, but we just got used to the way we were being treated. I'm going to tell you, if you're under these pretenses at work, and under this pressure, and you're screamed at and yelled and disrespected, you don't deserve that. That is just absolutely ridiculous that any of us ever or do think that this is something that we are gonna should tolerate or should put up with because of job security. It is so demeaning, and it is so I don't know. It's so negative, and it really affects our family. I mean, my last job that I worked at. I had amazing owners, and the place I worked at was great. But some of my coworkers were so unhappy, and the one supervisor I had was just was very difficult to deal with, and a lot has to do with what she dealt with when that she was angry about from whenever she was my age with kids. And but it was oh God, it was just so horrible. I would come home and I would be so stressed out and so worn out, and so the things that some of them would say and do to me that was just nasty because they weren't happy. And I just want to let you know that if you're dealing with this, you don't have to. You don't have to always be an employee, and you don't have to put up with things that you're not deserving, because it is mentally and emotionally and stress wise debilitating, and it does carry over into your family life and your marriage and the way you deal with your children. And so I just want to give you hope and tell you that the one side effect of being a coach is that you just become less and less tolerant of negativity, and you finally can realize what you're worth and what you're capable of and what you won't tolerate. But it just seems like I see so many people talking about this, and they're so scared of their employer and so scared about their job security. And there is an answer out there. So I extend the invitation to you, because you don't deserve the treatment that you have possibly been enduring just because you think that there's no other choice. There's always another choice. And hopefully myself or another coach can help you come home and be part of an environment that is what you deserve, and that the efforts that you make are go 100% into your family and your future and what you're working for, not somebody else's dream.